When I was a young boy, my father took me into the city to see a marching band. But that's a story for another day and another video. Hi Roo. When I was young, I loved Art Attack. I used to run home from school at 3 o'clock to watch Art Attack with my granda. He would say things like, I'm sure somebody else used to present this TV show, and I would just sit and wonder as Neil Buchanan turned everyday objects into fantastic pieces of art. I love the show so much that nothing got binned in my house. Toilet roll holders, egg cartons, cardboard boxes. I kept everything to make things. I just loved making things when I was young. I wasn't very artistic. You could argue I'm still not, but I just loved making things. I'd make little houses out of cardboard boxes and shoe boxes, and give them chimneys made out of toilet roll holders. I was a very busy kid. But to honour that childhood of making things for free you find around the house, I'm going to do some terrain today for Endor. I'm going to make some Endor trees using some old childhood stuff that we've just got lying about the house. I'm maybe still a little bit of a hoarder, so maybe that I never grew out of that bit. But yeah, cheap Endor trees for Star Wars Legion, or you can make them for any other game that has trees, I guess. And just as an added bonus, I'm going to show you some live reactions of some of the guys coming over on Friday to play some games, and this is what it looks like when they saw the trees for the first time.
That's amazing, man. How do you get Roo to make, man?
It's well trained, he's just well trained. There you go.
Hiya, Roo. Oh, that's a really good toy you've got there, Roo. Oh, your terrain looks class. Roo made it.
Now the bases for these trees are your everyday kitchen roll holders, and you're probably asking yourself, Rab, why do you have so many? Were you planning this project months in advance? The answer is no. I actually keep these because they're Roo's favourite toy. Despite the literal bucket of toys that he has, he loves kitchen roll holders. We save them for him, and if he's been good we give him one and he destroys it, and that keeps him happy for like a night. It's great. So I roughly marked out some space on an MDF board that these trees would sit on. You can buy pre-cut MDF, probably a lot easier than the hassle I had to go through jigsawing and beveling it all, so yeah, you might want to do that. Beveling is a really sort of boring, manual, tedious job, but it really makes the terrain seem a lot more natural than having sort of big square edges, so it's always worth doing, even if it is painful. Once it's done, you've got a nice base for your trees to sit on. The next ingredient is tin foil, or aluminium foil, or aluminum foil, or whatever you call it wherever you're from. And what you want to do is wrap your kitchen roll holder tree in a couple of layers of the foil. Don't wrap it too tightly so that it's flat. You want it to be all creased and crinkly, and that's going to create all the texture of the bark. Once that's done, I cut a couple of them about halfway up because I want to put some platforms about the halfway point mark, not just at the top of the trees. With the trees suitably wrapped and looking very treey, it's time to glue them down to the MDF bases. Now I used hot glue, it's just the best thing to stick things like that to. You could probably use super glue if you wanted, but hot glue is always a winner in my books. For the next step, I rolled up some sausages with tinfoil to act as roots, and I glued them to the base of the tree just to make it look a little bit more natural. Now these trees need some platforms for your minis to stand on, otherwise they're going to just be background terrain, I guess. I cut some foam circles out of some foam board that I had. You could use card or anything that's going to be strong enough to hold a bunch of minis on. I happen to have foam lying around, so I used that. Don't worry if it's not a perfect circle. My lore thinking, my theory crafting is that Ewoks probably don't have access to industrial equipment to cut perfect circles, so it is what it is. And yeah, again, using the hot glue gun just to glue the top of the tree back on top of the platform as well, and that means we've got different heights for our platforms. And now it's time for the fun part of the project, the part that will really send us back to being kids again: paper mâché. I mixed up some PVA glue and water in a 1:1 ratio. I ripped up some old newspaper and then it was time to get messy. You dunk the newspaper in until it is absolutely soaking wet, wipe off all the excess, so just like smooth it off with your fingers, and then you slap it on the trees. Make sure to push it on as hard as you can to make sure that it takes all the wrinkles from the tin foil and it shows through on the paper mache. Whilst you watch me struggling with paper mache at super speed, I would like to take time to thank my Patreons for their continued support of the channel and my crazy projects in general. You guys are awesome, thank you so much. If you want to join the Patreon, the link will be below. You get access to Discord where we talk rubbish, and I'll also send you a Rabtastic dice which you can use in most of your games going forward. Whilst I waited for the paper mache to dry, I decided to make some bridges between the trees. Now I used these bamboo kebab skewers or kebab sticks. I measured out the width that I would need for the minis to be able to walk up and down them comfortably with a little bit of space, and I sellotaped it to the desk to hold them in place. I then chopped up some coffee stirrers to make planks and glued them down to the bridges, and repeated this until I had enough bridges to safely navigate the trees. I then took everything outside and primed it brown. And then I decided to make some wooden planks to go on the platforms. I spread a liberal amount of glue on top of the foam platforms and then layered coffee stirrers side by side, covering the entire thing. There will be a lot of overhang which I can go and clip once it's all dry. If you really wanted to be precise, you could measure out all the coffee stirrers first and then glue them, but I decided to do it this way, which is a lot quicker, and when you've got like 5 trees to do this, it's just so much easier. Let it dry and then clip it. What could also make it even easier is if you do this before you spray paint it, and you don't have to take everything outside and spray paint it again like I did. And then for a little bit more added authenticity, I snipped some of the bamboo skewers and sort of glued them at a 45-degree angle under the platform to make it look like supports for it. This was probably the fiddliest part of the job. With the platforms all clipped to shape and everything primed the same colour, we're kind of out of that trust the process stage, and it's starting to actually look like a decent project, and I might not have to bin the YouTube video after all. With all this done, we can now start dry brushing and actually making it look more like a tree. I went up through a number of colours. I started with burnt sienna, and then went on to yellow ochre, and then it was yellow ochre with a little bit of white added into it just for the final bits. And you really want to be very generous with the dry brushing. It will pick up all the details of the tin foil and the paper mache, and it will really make it look like bark. It's great. I actually have such a love for dry brushing because of this project now. It's really enamoured me towards it. And now we're on to the final stretch, which is giving some love to our bases. They look a bit plain. What I did was I applied some of the terrain mud that I've got. Once it had dried, I then dry brushed it. I did a bunch of tufts and some flocking as well, just to make it look a little bit more brighter so that not everything is brown. And that's us done. So I'm going to leave you with some final shots of the terrain on the table before we played some games. Didn't actually play any Star Wars on it, of course. We played about half a game of Fallout Wasteland Warfare, and then decided just to play Magic the Gathering. But I'll definitely use this terrain in future, otherwise this has been a wasted week, apart from, you know, the really awesome video I've just made on it. If you have enjoyed the video, please please hit subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment, tell me what you like about it. Hopefully this will inspire you guys to make some really easy, quick terrain from stuff you've got lying about the house. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys next time.